Just got back from the gym. Let's talk some Niners. A little two-a-day action for your boy. 3-mile run and an upper body hit. But there is so much going on with San Francisco here today. And we have another loaded show coming your way on the 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Will the Niners trade for another wide receiver after trading for Skyy Moore? Niners rumored to be in on a running back Brian Robinson of the Commanders. Have the 49ers put a safety on the trade block? Was Jake Moody's kick on Saturday against the Raiders career-saving? Corey Kiner back reverts to IR. He cleared waivers. And Brock Purdy balled today at Niners training camp. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Niners videos coming your way every single day year-round. We're closing in on another subscriber milestone, so lock us in, hit that sub button. We'll be live Saturday night, preseason finale, Niners-Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, back in the Bay Area. Trey Lance gonna start. It's gonna be epic. Hope to see you there. We'll be live right here on the show, and then I'm live tomorrow with Larry Krueger, our normal slot. That'll be 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 10:45 a.m. Pacific on The Krug Show. Always enjoy my hits with one of the best Niners YouTubers and the sports radio legend that is Larry Krueger. All right, let's begin here. So Niners, as we know, broke the news down last night, traded for Skyy Moore. He passed his physical today, and he ended up getting some 11-on-11 snaps already, including in the red zone. The Niners are so thin at the wide receiver spot that their trade acquisition from about 24 hours ago at this point flies to the SAP Performance Facility in Santa Clara and already participates in 11-on-11s and got some looks in the red zone. He's a gadget guy, obviously hasn't worked out in his NFL career, second-round pick, but he was a really good college player. The Niners are hoping that they can strike lightning in a bottle, maximize him. They're hoping that he's a good scheme fit. They're hoping that he can be a gadget guy on offense as a receiver, and then he can help this team on special teams because Jacob Cowing hurt again. Just never really jived with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Had some injuries, had some inconsistencies, but a good athlete who's not a special athlete, but he was a second-round pick for a reason, and we'll see what the Niners can do with Skyy Moore. With all of the injuries at wide receiver, like he's going to be in the mix, I would imagine, week 1 on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Right now you're looking at Ricky Pearsall, Robbie Chosen, Russell Gage, who John Lynch said is probably going to be back for week 1, Isaiah Hodgins, and maybe Skyy Moore all in the mix. I think I said Robbie Chosen, right? I mean, it's hard to keep track. Niners have had a litany of injuries at wide receiver. The thing that benefits San Francisco, and I talked about this last night, they can run a lot of 21 personnel. You have Kyle Juszczyk as a fullback. You can run a lot of 12 personnel. Now that you signed Luke Farrell, you can go heavy and run the football. And some of those sets, 21 personnel, 12 personnel, you only need 2 wide receivers. Ricky Pearsall definitely going to be one of them. And so Skyy Moore already in the mix. And do the Niners trade for another wideout? I'm not ruling it out. You know, they went fishing for John Mechie, got beat out by the Philadelphia Eagles, who had Harrison Bryant, a veteran tight end, to offer. They swapped picks from a previous trade that the Eagles and the Texans made. And so the Texans needed a tight end. They got a tight end. Not really a tight end trade piece on this Niners roster for San Francisco to trade to Houston. And so there was that. And then they trade for Skyy Moore. I'm not ruling out them either trading for another wideout or scanning the waiver wire and see who gets cut from other teams to potentially snag those players. Claim them on waivers or sign them in free agency if they're vets. Some names that come to mind, and last night we talked about Skyy Moore being one of those targets, and he ended up being one. That's why you subscribe to the show. We try to stay ahead of the game here on the show. Kendrick Bourne, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Dante Pettis, I know, Niners legend. Robert Woods, Malachi Corley, Mitchell Tinsley, Justin Watson, Ronnie Bell, I know, Niners legend, and Jalen Reagor. Those are some other names that come to mind. If I had my choice, it's Romeo Doubs of the Green Bay Packers. I wish San Francisco would go and get him if he's available. Could be Dontavian Wicks as the Packers receiver who gets moved after they drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, who's kind of a Deebo Samuel light. So as far as the Niners making another move at wideout, not ruling it out. This was a pretty interesting move. The Niners placed cornerback Tre Brown on IR. I imagine they're going to come to an agreement on a settlement there. It's not going to be season-ending IR. And that is the corresponding roster move to create a roster spot for Skyy Moore. That's big. Brown was expected to fill pretty important roles at slot corner or at outside corner. But I had said during the preseason opener, the fact that he was playing so deep into that game and did not start in that game was a telltale sign that he might be on the roster bubble. On the roster bubble indeed, and now off of it. So who does that open up a spot for? It's kind of jumbled there with a bunch of middle-of-the-road, somewhat mediocre players, some young and unproven. I like Jacob Robinson. I like Dallas Flowers, Derek Canteen, Saron Neal. Now, some of these players are like safety slot corner hybrids. Upton Stout, I think, is now going to start in the slot week 1. Tre Brown was expected to compete with him to start week 1. Now Tre Brown's gone. Niners gave him, I want to say maybe $2 million in guaranteed money. I might be wrong, but they thought that he was going to have a role. Former 4th-round pick by the Seattle Seahawks out of Oklahoma. Didn't work out there. Didn't work out with another Niner team. He's got to get outside the NFC West. So that's a surprising move that happened today. Ricky Pearsall, by the way, on the team's wide receiver injuries. Quote, it's definitely not normal. No, it's not. 6 of the Niners' 7 top wideouts are either hurt, unable to practice, or facing suspension in the case of Demarcus Robinson. Not ideal. Topic number, 2 or 3. We got a lot to get to. This tweet coming from Pretty Ricky, the People's Insider. Look, I kind of joke, but for real, he was on Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh before any of the top NFL insiders. He was on the Jalen Ramsey trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. He was on another big one. I want to say DK Metcalf, potentially. And now he's reporting that the Dolphins are the front runners to trade for Commanders running back Brian Robinson. But the Niners, Cowboys, Texans also interested in him. But again, Miami, the front runners. Niners, just like they're banged up at wideout, they're hella banged up at running back too. So I threw Robinson's name out a few days ago, earlier this week, as a potential trade target for San Francisco. Former 3rd-round pick out of Alabama. When you look at him, you're like, wow, that's a physical specimen at the running back spot. Sometimes he doesn't play that way. He plays smaller. And what's odd about him, even though he is so big and physically imposing, he kind of hesitates to run in between the tackles. I don't know if you'd be a scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan. In this outside zone, you got to see the running lane, hit the running lane. See hole, hit hole, pause. And sometimes he doesn't do that. Now, he was playing under Cliff Kingsbury, who is from the Mike Leach air raid school of offense. That's a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, a lot of verticals. And so that's more of a finesse, pass-heavy offense. But he's modified that offense, has Cliff Kingsbury, to make it more pro-like and modern day. But Robinson, he just didn't really find a gear with Washington. Now, what's interesting, too, is that he had pretty good production as far as overall yards. As a rookie, 205 carries, 797 yards, but only 3.9 yards per carry. 2023, 733 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, only 4.1 yards per carry. 2024, 799 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry. So over 700 yards every year that he's been in the NFL. It's very rare that you can find a starting caliber back that's available at this point for, I would imagine, a late round pick. That's the only way I'm making this move. Analytically, not the best production for Robinson. Despite facing the 5th easiest schedule of run defenses last year, he ranked 27 out of 50 running backs in yards per carry, 37th in explosive run rate, 35th in stuff rate, also ranked 44th with 34% of his rushes, 1 or fewer yards. I also didn't love the offensive line, and I don't love that system as far as running the ball, but he struggled a little bit. What I also want to talk about here is this new report that the Niners are shopping safety Jake Brown, who they selected in the 3rd round of the 2023 NFL Draft. And I don't want to pile on the Niners here, but this 2023 draft is one of the worst of all time. It's bad. So you didn't have a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick. Jake Brown was your first selection in the 3rd round. Jake Moody the other. Cam Latu, who's on his 3rd team and not going to make it on the 53, was also selected in the 3rd round. Darrell Luter Jr. in the 5th, Robert Beal in the 5th, D. Winters in the 6th, Braden Willis in the 7th, Ronnie Bell in the 7th, Jalen Graham in the 7th. There is not one high-level player in that entire draft class that the Niners took. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players. Almost all whiffs. I mean, Brown might get dealt. Jake Moody still don't have confidence in him. Cam Latu gone. Darrell Luter Jr. probably making it, but hasn't done anything. Robert Beal hasn't done jack. I like D. Winters. He'll start for you. Braden Willis. Come on. Ronnie Bell not on the team. Jalen Graham might not make the team. That's a bad draft. But with Jake Brown, I did talk about this a couple of weeks ago. The possibility of the Niners trading him because there's a little bit of a logjam at safety. There's been the rise of 5th-round pick Marquis Siegel, who started at North Dakota State with the Bison, transferred to Kansas State, can play nickel, dime, and safety. I think he starts for this team week 1. I mean, he has had an awesome training camp. And the rise and the ascent of him has made Jake Brown expendable. So if Siegel starts week 1, who starts alongside him? I think it's going to be Jason Pinnock. And then once Malik Mustafa comes off PUP, he'll start. You also have Richie Grant, who has special teams ability. So he can play a couple roles there. And so Jake Brown might be dealt for a late-round pick. And I mentioned a few weeks ago how the New York Jets could be a destination that makes sense. Yesterday, they traded for 2 defensive tackles. Steve Wilkes, another Niner legend, the Jets defensive coordinator, he really likes Jake Brown. I mean, he really wanted the Niners to take him in 2023 out of Penn State, despite him running like a 4.7 40. And to Jake Brown's credit, he played well under Steve Wilkes. I like Jake Brown as a player. I just don't think it's going to work out with the Niners. In that preseason game, he got mossed by Brock Bowers and then truck-sticked by Ashton Genty. Not great. But Wilkes, as the Jets defensive coordinator, really likes Brown. And Brown played well under Wilkes when Talanoa Hufanga got hurt as a rookie. And so Jake Brown could get traded. Jets, possible landing spot. 49ers Sports Talk on X with that report today. Today at practice, it was Marquis Siegel, Jason Pinnock, Jake Brown, all mixing in with the first team. But Siegel, Pinnock getting most of the reps. Just got to buy time till Malik Mustafa comes back. And so with Siegel, Pinnock getting the most reps, quite interesting. Brock Purdy today, balling, locked in, got a lot of reps. Maybe the hottest day of Niners training camp in Santa Clara today. Purdy 16 of 21 on the day, but one of those throws a throwaway. Another a drop by Tariq Owens. Ricky Pearsall couldn't get his feet down in the end zone. And then another ball slipped from his hand while his arm moved forward. So nearly perfect for Purdy today at practice. 2 best throws. The pass to Tariq Owens, a dime, a dot, right in between 2 defenders. But then Owens dropped it. Couple plays later, Purdy right in the bucket, deep out to George Kittle. That was on the money. Jake Brown in coverage. His throw to Pearsall to the back corner of the end zone on the money, but then Pearsall out of bounds. So good day for Brock Purdy. It is also confirmed Corey Kiner not claimed off of waivers by another team. He now reverts back to the Niners injured reserve list. I like that. I think Kiner's an NFL back. I've said it a lot here. Good contact balance. He runs hard. He runs decisively. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets carries this year, but another team not picking up a UDFA back and claiming him on waivers because he's going to be out a couple months. And so glad that he's back with the Niners. Sucks that he got hurt. As bad of a high ankle sprain as he could have had. He got carted off on Saturday. Lastly, was Jake Moody's kick on Saturday against the Raiders career-saving? Niners special teams coordinator Brant Boyer, who I like, said that kick on Saturday with Moody facing adversity could be career-saving for him. Props to him. Missed the one from 53 early, snuck that 26-yarder inside the left upright. He comes back, and he hits from 44, 50, and 59 at the buzzer to win the game after Pete Carroll tried to ice him. But I still have no confidence in Jake Moody. We'll see when the regular season comes around, but he's making this team after that performance. All right, back in the studio tomorrow. I'll hit you with some more Niners content. Live with Krug, live on Saturday for Niners Chargers. We'll get to see a lot of Trey Lance, who's played very well in the preseason. As a football nerd, I'm looking forward to that. Catch you next time. My name is Chase Sr. You're watching the 49ers Report, and I'm out. See ya.